Hello, Jono. How you doing? Um, yeah, maybe we shouldn't be interesting right now, but this is how I am right now, so it's fine. So, basically, the topics of today are Kimonos in progress, marriage for love, and the myth of progress. Here we go. So Kimonos. So, based on one of the podcasters I listened to, I decided to buy a kimono because somewhere along the line he said that he wears a kimono around the house. I think, Malcolm Collins, and there you are of Simone Collins of Base Camp. So great podcast. Definitely check them out. They don't know what they're talking about on AI, but on most other things, they're pretty solid. And I'm glad they stopped talking about politics as much. Good move, guys. Don't go down that rabbit hole too far. So basically, he wears a kimono. Kind of a really nerdy guy, like an alpha nerd, if you know the type. But anyway, I'm like, okay, I like doing things that people recommend on YouTube because advertising works on me if it's something from somebody I like. This obviously wasn't advertising. He wasn't like sponsored by a Kimono company or something. I've also gotten other things. Like I got Holly moisturizing stuff from Paul Joseph Watson because your skin stuff. I got this mushroom thing because another guy. Yeah, but it's fun. I like trying things. I got money. This is how I spend money, is by trying different random things. So that's also why I got a sauna downstairs, which is also why I'm damp. I took a cold shower after the sauna. What I didn't realize is that kimonos are freaking comfortable. I mean, um, pants were a mistake, society. Pants were not a good move for society. My entire life, up until now, I looked at people wearing togas as most people do. Oh, that's so primitive. That's so savage. Oh yeah, the Romans wore togas and the toga parties. Oh dear. Or kimonos. Oh, same thing. Um, Let me tell you the truth. These things are incredibly comfortable, especially if you're just walking around the house and like it's the end of the day, and you just want to be relaxed. Pants are constricting. Shirts are constricting. Kimonos are not. Togas, I bet, were kind of the same thing as kimonos. I mean, if you look at them, they're very similar in how they worked. Now, what they're bad at, I wouldn't ever try to do work in a kimono. And I don't mean just like office work. I mean like I wouldn't ever try to weed, or I would never try to do anything dirty with your hands or anything mechanical with togas or kimonos. But that doesn't mean that they're useless. There's a reason people wore these in so many different cultures. And honestly, the fact that we don't now is just a huge mistake by society. We went backwards, guys. We went the wrong direction. It is possible for a useful technology to become not used anymore just because of cultural bigotry, I guess. And again, I would never wear this if my parents came by or my brother or anybody I knew came by. This is for me. And if I had a wife, I probably wouldn't wear it either. I know maybe I would. I don't know. If I had the right wife, I would. That said, they are super, super comfortable. I want to get two or three more. Especially if like you just took a shower or something, you don't want to be all constricted. You're like, oh, just kimono, it's great. And you actually look like, if you look at me, like it actually looks nice. It does. It's not just a bathrobe. I guess I'm essentially using it as a bathrobe, but it feels nicer than that. It feels nice. It feels like you're a samurai lord walking around your house, which is fine. I think my cat sees something. I'm not sure what she's doing. So yeah, anybody who tells you technology is always for the best, wrong. Um, But I get it. I totally get it. Super comfortable. I'd recommend it. Just have one, just for walking around the house. Maybe I'm just having a fancy for it, and I'm gonna stop wearing it tomorrow. Maybe, I don't know. But right now, I'm loving it. So the next thing is another thing that I got from a recommendation. Elizabeth Wheatley, I think her name is. She does a pretty good series of shorts on. Basically, she's an author. She writes different books, fantasy romance books, and she has really really funny shorts where she has different characters talking to each other, all her dressed up in different ways. Basically the romantic leads for different types of fantasy books. So you've got a fantasy, you have a historical, you have fantasy romance, you have a historical romance, you have a paranormal romance, and you have a normal romance. So the normal romance is a typical hipster girl, um, college educated type. Fantasy is like a assassin or something based on her one of her characters. The historical one is like some princess or a duchess, something like that. And then the final paranormal is a redneck because of course every paranormal story a lot of times there's rednecks and that's how they work. So anyway, they talk to each other and they make fun of each other. They talk about their romantic interests, whoever it may be. It is really, really funny. So I'm like, so she is constantly advertising a book in these. So I'm like, well, I'm looking for a good book series. So sure, why not? I'll try reading a fantasy romance. I like anime romance a lot, so why wouldn't I like fantasy romance? And surprise, surprise, it is really, really good. Not S tier, not Brandon Sanderson tier, but some really interesting ideas you can kind of just sink your teeth into. So, a few quotes from that. One quote is she said, this is near the beginning of the book, is Amira, who's the main character, says, she does think that people married for love, but not of love of the other, of the spouse, which is interesting, right? She's like, no, the farmer does marries for the love of the farm, merchant for love of the negotiation or something, the Lord for the love of the kingdom. And I'm like, wow, that is good. And Elizabeth, she doesn't seem like a conservative. She's that probably center left. I don't know. She doesn't really talk about politics very much, which is, might be an indicator. But dear God, that is a good line of reasoning. That is like people talk about conservative being like, oh yeah, two mom and dad and house in the neighborhood and everything, and they're isolated from everything. No, that is not conservative. That whole isolated household thing is not conservative at all. That is an invention of the, oh no, 19th century, and that's only for aristocrats. For common folk, oh my gosh, it's probably from 1950 when people were trying to resemble that. No, 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 no. Tradition is community based. It is a village where people, depending on again which town you're in which area of Europe you're in, but don't call 1950s Americana tradition. It's not. It's not. And I've always think it's interesting that like people talked about millennials were very, very much. Here's how it worked. Boomers married because it was the thing to do. Right, it was a thing to do. You got married. You met somebody. You got married. Yada yada yada. Gen X still had the memory of that. You know, they kind of just had their own thing going on. And the millennials are really the ones who really took it to the nth degree that you married for love, and that's the only reason to get married at all. And so they didn't. They didn't get married. They are the most lonely generation probably of all time. Now Gen Z is coming up and saying, "Wait, millennials are miserable. We don't want to be like them. Can we not? What is they? Gen Z is basically like questioning everything. Millennials question the old stuff. Gen Z questions everything. They ask themselves, "Hey, why do people get married?" And it's not just about romantic love, but they still have the memory of that being the need for millennials. So they're still doing terribly. But at least they're on the right track. You can really see the culture going more in the direction of, well, I want a family. Well, I want a community. Well, I want people around. That's what marriage did. Back it provided a service. It's a social technology. Like the kimono, it was given up because people were like, "Oh, that's so old fashioned." And now people are like, "Wait a minute, this is actually a good idea. Why be ditching these social technologies that are so useful?" Right? Um. So yeah. No, I'm probably not going to get married. If I look at my hairline, it's going away. But that doesn't mean I can still have opinions on it. And it was just such a good quote from Elizabeth Weekly. The other interesting quote, which I'm not going to get into here, is about obedience, which is a whole nother story. Basically, actually, how much can I give away? No, this is first chapter, so I can give this away. Basically, in the first chapter, Amira, the main character, she's an assassin, and she has to follow her father's orders. And she doesn't, she gets like a strangling feeling around her neck. Um, I'm not going to go into the ramifications of what, like, all of that, but it's just it's like kind of on the nose, but also kind of freaking brilliant as a magic system. Um, Obedience, because nobody even wants to talk about obedience. It's like it's a dirty topic. That's why we have masochists and sadists, because it's taboo to have a power dynamic between different people. I'm not gonna say anything more about that, but it's funny as anything to have it being the central plot line for a story. And maybe I'm missing the point. I don't think I am. But anyway, so you have these. So you have these the old technologies, whether it be a kimono, marriage being not just for love, but for love of other things beyond the betrothed. Because let's face it, the whole being in love thing is a myth. We all know that. Like we feel love, we feel infatuation, yeah, but that's what leads to Romeo and Juliet, not to an actual like happy relationship. I'm not saying it's bad to be in love, but like that's not what should bring it together. But we have these technologies that basically people developed over a long period of time, a very very long time, and we basically throw them all out because my progress. And I'm like, this doesn't feel like progress. It doesn't feel like yes, we have gotten better technology, but the technology has happened because people have invented things, and maybe because they had an economic incentive and a government structure to enable it. It's not an accomplishment of the culture. Our culture in the Middle Ages would have been wiped out. It's a very, very weak, bad culture that happens to be buoyed up by technology for now, and that's fading too. Um, so yeah, I think people are way too uppity about this culture we have now. Like people are like, "Oh, AI is going to be the end of the world," and there's part of me that says, "Good." What are we defending exactly in our culture that's worth keeping? And it's not a conservative right wing or left wing thing. I think that's how like it gets situated. It's not quite that. It's on the right, mind you, but it's not, that's not it. Like people on the right and the left can see it. It's not working. Like again, as I said last time, I've heard the phrase "late phase capitalism" multiple times from conservatives over the past few weeks, and I mostly follow with conservative sources, but I bet Democrats haven't stopped using that phrase, right? So we all know that there are problems with our society. That's like not just like right wing versus left wing. Like people not having kids. Like women tend to be on the left wing mostly. Men tend to be on the right wing now mostly. But those two sides should and historically have worked together, and instead they're situated against each other. And you just have a bunch of incels and femicels flirting with each other through the comment sections of Quora or Reddit or Twitter or whatever. Because that's what they're doing. When you see people arguing about sex in the comments, yeah, they're flirting. It's just super yonder stuff. At least that's how it feels to me. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. But that said, there's obviously issues happening right now. And I think a lot of it's the fact that we've abandoned the technologies that make people happy. These things were developed for reasons. Um, and some of it, maybe we can't get back. Maybe we can't get back the village square. Maybe. Or maybe it requires the end of our current phase of civilization for that to come back. Maybe that's how the fantasy anime universe we all wanted to be in comes back, is to after the demographic collapse, after everything falls apart. Maybe everything has to fall apart to get to the future we want to get to. But some of the technologies we can bring back now, right? And those are the peoples that are going to carry things, the light of civilization, through to the next period, are going to be the people who didn't throw out the old technologies. Like, you don't invent the nuclear power plant by forgetting fire, right? You develop the nuclear power plant by keeping the old technologies, keeping the hearth lit, and then bringing it and using it to light the next spark. Bad poetry, yeah, I know, but you get my point, right? Um, so yeah, get a kimono, get married, but have a campfire, go for a walk, have a drink with a friend, It's not complicated. It's just it's how humans work. Anyway, cheers.